Where's the shield, actually? I need to pick that up there. Where is it? Somebody else got it? Am I crazy? Where's the fucking shield? Quite nervous, Andy. This is going to have to be my boy for Classic. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the... We didn't pick a name, pal. I'm going Dandy. I'll be the Dandy Preacher. Welcome back to the TDP. I'm sorry it's been a while. It's been a massively busy couple of weeks, but we're back, and we're doing some good stuff. I'm playing my Prot Warrior. Why? The Battle for Azeroth was just announced, and with every new expansion comes the renewed hope that the Warrior will be Biss, and it will be the ultimate monstrosity of death, and therefore we must play the Warrior, and we must reimagine what it's like to be a Warrior while we PvP me outside of Halls of Valor. I don't know why. The class changes we know so far aren't even that promising for the Warrior. They're changing Ignore Pain, so you basically can't screw it up. You can't screw it up. Like, it won't waste rage anymore. It'll just be a buff that you get. So it'll be interesting to see whether we get more. But I'm hoping above hopes. Honestly, the DPS specs aren't that bad anymore. It's the tanking spec. Wait. There's a dog. The dog is upon us. That might be Blizzard's... It's Blizzard's dog. It's Blizzard's dog. They're angry at me talking about the Prot Warrior. But I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be fine. So, all we know is they're changing, so far really, that they're making Ignore Pain like a buff that you give yourself. And if you take damage, it'll do some stuff with it. Which is fine. Which is all good in my book. So, we'll see how it goes out. I'm sure it'll be all good. Let's get going. This is boring. Now, as we are doing M+. It's only a 9, so nothing too special. In fact, this is almost child's play at the moment, so hopefully, now I've said that, we'll have some horrors, some nightmares that'll occur, but generally speaking, this should be about as easy as it gets. But it's all about just trying to feel the love and the passion I have for this class, and I do. I mean, I genuinely feel that way. I have a love and a passion for this class in a lot of ways, and I want Blizzard to do right by me, you know, like some jilted lover. I feel like the brothers, like, just do right by me. That's all I ask. Do right by me. But we are in M+, and for those of you who don't do a lot of M+, the debuffs and stuff we're carrying today are Bolstering and Skittish. So this is all tank stuff, which I thought was a great opportunity to come in and actually do some tanking with you guys. So Bolstering means that when an enemy dies, you can see these buffs here, these purple things. The remaining living enemies will gain health and damage. And that means I need to be very, very careful. I need to be very careful and pay attention, because now we have this. See how big he gets? Look at this guy. Look how huge he is. Isn't that awesome? We have to be very careful, like, not to overpull, and hopefully the DPS to kill the targets in a pretty reasonable way. That's what we hope for. I don't have leader. Okay, so I'm just gonna go 3, 2, 1, go. And the other one is Skittish, which means that I do way less threat. So as I said, it's tanking stuff today. I do way less threat. Let's move nice and early. Make sure people get out of the way. Where's the next one? It's not in the middle, so we've got ages to go back. So we're going to move through these orbs and head on back over here. Because eventually it will come to the middle, and we don't want that to happen. So I like it. Like, it's not like old school tanking, and I am going to talk a little bit about Battle for Azeroth, and of course, Classic in this video. I think that'd be a relative subject. These are the big topics on everyone's mind. I'm not going to lie that thinking about Classic again has really brought the Warrior back to my mind. That was when I was so enamored by tanking. I never got to do it. Which was a true sadness of mine, because I was a priest healer, as many of you know, and the unfortunate truth is I always wanted to be a tank, specifically a warrior tank. I mean, they were pretty much the only tanks in vanilla, and I wanted it pretty desperately, but I just couldn't do it. I was too involved with my friends. Like, what I did mattered a lot. I got my friends into a lot of guilds, like, because DPS warriors, if you got a DPS warrior spot in a guild, I imagine I wanted to be a DPS warrior as well. But if you got a DPS spot warrior in a guild, you weren't giving it up easily. So you never really had those spots coming. And as 2 of my friends played DPS warriors, that made things very, very tricky for me, because it was down to me for them to keep their raid spots, so to speak. And even when we had to move into different guilds, if I didn't play priest, which gave me a lot of power, then they wouldn't have got spots at all, which was kind of sad. So I was kind of stuck on my priest for one reason or another, despite the fact that I already kind of knew. These are bolstered quite high. I'm just going to stun these down. Despite the fact that I kind of already knew that it wasn't... I didn't want to be a healer. But it's hard to say no to your buddies, because, you know, they're your buddies. That's what it's all about in MMOs, isn't it? It's more about the friends than anything else. That's what I've found over the years. More about the friends. Having your friends doing good stuff is way more important. Just couldn't resist, could you? Just couldn't resist. Just couldn't wait like the few seconds it would take to get here. Needed to go in and be a hero. I don't blame you. Sometimes you just want to DPS me. When thinking about Classic and watching all the discussions unfold, especially like the hilarious ones of the people who, I don't know, there's a lot of supposition. I imagine it's a mix, is the reality. It usually is the case. Of people who clearly either had no intention of ever playing vanilla. My healer's nearly in. We should be fine for this pack, though. But now Classic has been announced, are definitely showing an interest in this. And the interest is kind of annoying, I think, a lot of people who are now being labeled as, like, Classic purists. And I was thinking, some people were tweeting me, actually, about warrior tanking. Because, obviously, the warrior is the way you want to go in vanilla. You can tank, and this is always the big question, isn't it? I see a lot of bullshit, is the correct word. A huge amount of bullshit about, oh, well, you know, it wasn't just this. It wasn't just this. On private realms, you can do all kinds of stuff. Let me say one thing. Whatever happened on a private realm, as close as they tried to get it, it does not matter, like, at all. In any way. It's about what happened on live. And yes, you could use things like a Prot paladin or even a bear. We had bears in farm. A bear. Some guy who just wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it's possible to do something, right? It's not like the spec was disabled when you went into a raid, but it was just massively inefficient. And that's like the most notorious case that I can remember that'll give some examples of this is I played with literally the world's best geared Shadow Priest. It was a waste of time. He was fine as long as the fight didn't go on for like a minute. I've exaggerated a little bit there. But mana is actually the biggest deal people aren't talking about with vanilla that I don't think a lot of players who seem to think they know what they're talking about with vanilla because, you know, maybe they remember some half thing from one of my legacy videos or some nonsense like that. I'm seeing people even bring up my legacy videos but incorrectly. That's infuriating. As you can probably imagine, it's so irritating. But they're like half remembering something. I even saw someone saying, well, a friend of mine on a private realm definitely played Feral. Like, yeah, you could. Certainly on farm content, because honestly, I don't think a lot of people are prepared for how derpy vanilla raids are going to seem compared to what we do today. Like this, what I'm doing right here, right now, which is considered by a lot of people, not everybody, to be the simple of the simple, is a +9 Mythic Plus, is leaps and bounds more complicated than anything you're going to find up until, like, you fucker. I'm going to have to stay here, otherwise this is going so bad. Stun that recklessness. The Shield of Light. Aim the blast as best I can. What a pain in the ass. This is leaps and bounds more complicated than what you'll see in an actual vanilla raid. They were really easy by today's standards. They had nothing going on. Like a big mechanic in... even till like AQ40 was just holding DPS and threat and whatnot. So it'll be... I don't think people are really prepared for that, what that's going to be like. There's plenty of time for mana afterwards. And we have the whole room now, which is pretty nice. We could, even the warrior was like, I'm used to diving this way. I don't have to do that anymore. Oh, wow. We have actually access to the whole room in a Mythic Plus. This is crazy. I should also point out, just for those who are curious, you don't kill that trash there because it doesn't give any percentage. So you just bypass it because it's worthless. It doesn't do anything for you. They're really stupidly easy. So certainly once your guild got practiced at it, even though you carried a huge amount of terrible players in vanilla, and that could be a benefit for a lot of people, is the ability to once again take just the absolute worst players ever. But if they're fun and they're great to be around, that's awesome. I have no issue with that. It was one of the things I liked about vanilla raiding and 40-man raiding is that for the most part you could take 20 absolutely terrible people and you'd be fine. You'd have no issue at all. As long as they did some damage at the beginning, you're probably going to be fine. Return to that will probably be nice, but of course, in the mix of that, yeah, you could bring a feral druid. You could bring anything you wanted. There was no doubt about that. If you were remotely serious about progression, though... Oh, what am I doing? I'm just out of my mind. What the hell? Totally just mind going a different way there. Oh my god. I was doing Sanctify. I don't know why I decided to do this. Terrible tag confirm. But if you were serious at all about your guild and progression and whatnot, then no, you were never going to do that. You're never going to do that unless you're overgeared. So, but vanilla gearing is really kind of interesting. I'll give you an example. Is we recruited a tank while we were doing Blackwing Lair, who had Nax Ramus gear. Yeah, it was before I moved to the better guild. And we were like, why the hell does this guy want to join our guild? Anyway, he turned out to be, shock horror, a total bellend. And... Ooh, healer's dead. Do. 3 people are dead. Nice. This might be my fault, but I'm going to shield wall this. That was a good idea. I have a long way to go here. I'm going to take responsibility for this death, although... Oh well. Can I survive this? I'll just die. 100 million. A fly got in my eye. That rhymes. I'll take responsibility for that now. I wasn't thinking. That rhymes.
None it is done. The sanctity of this place is preserved.
The problem with this guy was, I'm not going to say his name, but the problem with this guy was he was just the shittiest person you guys have ever met in your life. Like, the shittiest person. And he was so overgeared. He was one of these warriors. So you probably heard about Nax and the 8 warrior thing, which went down to 6. You needed to just gear warriors. So guilds was just grabbing other guilds' warriors. Like the top guilds were just grabbing other guilds' warriors. I think we were doing AQ40 at the time, but the incident I remember specifically was a Blackwing Lair clear. I can't remember why we were there or what we were doing, but we were in Blackwing Lair anyway. So we recruited this tank, and he wasn't going to be our main tank, because we were getting ready for the 4 horsemen. So we just brought this guy in as an extra tank, and he had Nax gear already, which was great for us. We didn't have to waste gear on him. And we noticed that he was doing Blackwing Lair with no chest piece and no helmet, and in fact was wearing a green dress. In fact, wearing a green dress. And obviously the raid leader's like, what the hell are you doing? And it turned out that this was the kind of thing this guy would do because he was, in his mind, so overgeared that it was a waste of time and effort him wearing his proper gear in any way. It was a total waste of time. There was no point in him doing that whatsoever. And we should be thankful. He actually said, I believe he said the words, but you should be thankful I'm here in the first place. And we were like, what? What the fuck? Anyway, it became very quickly apparent why this guy had been kicked out of his guild, which was kind of funny. Like, we were all laughing about it. I didn't enjoy being in that guild in the first place. I didn't think the guys were very nice, but by the by, this is what this guy was. And anyway, we got past Vale, and he still hadn't put his armor on by any means. He had a shield on, at least, thankfully. He had a shield, but He hadn't actually bothered to put his armor on yet. And our raid leader was getting super pissed. And he never made it to Broodlord. Like, they kicked him out of the guild there, and then they were like, you're just a fucking moron. Because he was argumentative by it as well. It wasn't a case of, you might say, why don't you just ask? We did, like, multiple times. Because I noticed it as a healer. I was not their healing officer, but I was certainly more attentive than most. And I was like, what the fuck is... This guy's taking as much damage as our main tank. Like, what is this? And he's not tanking. What the hell is going on? And that's when it became very apparent that this guy was just a clown. An absolute clown. And I think I might have even brought up, like, why are you... What? Why are you wearing that? And that's when he said, I've got defense cap without chest and legs or whatever, and I don't need it. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Why? Why are you wasting our time? Like, what's the purpose here? And that was always the thought process. Like, what is the point? I don't get it. What are we proving doing this? As it's proved, just his own smugness, generally. Just his own smugness was all we were proving, which didn't go down too well. But the point I'm making here is vanilla allows for that because it's not that difficult. It's really not. It's more about coordinating so many people to get stuff done. I mean, anybody who raided MC will know of the horror of the charges. I forget the name. Molten charges, I think they're called. Something like that. Anyway, the whole idea of this is one of the very, very first trash mobs in Molten Core. This isn't like AQ level stuff. Oh, you git. It's one of the very, very first trash mobs in Molten Core, and the whole idea is they charge around and they knock the whole raid back. They're a total nightmare. But if you get everybody in the raid to just stand on top of them, that's it. That's the mechanic. You stand on top of the mob. You just go and stand there. If you get everybody to do that, they don't charge. They just stand still and let you kill them so quickly and so easily. I think in my Molten Core guild, we managed that like twice. Something like that. It was just so hard to get people to understand things like that. Or to move out with the bomb. All these kind of things. That you just... That's the difficulty, is coordinating so many people. And that's why mechanics had to be something like Dispel. You know what I mean? Dispel or something along those lines. Kind of funny. But I don't think the general player base is ready for that. By the by, though, a lot of people saying, are you going to play Classic? Me? Yeah, I'll make a character on Classic. No worries. I probably won't play it a great deal. I don't think so. But certainly in downtime. Like right now, I think he's pretty garbage for WoW. Because we're just waiting for Antorus, which we've now got a date for, thankfully. But other than that, there's not much else to do. There's AP farm to do. Like, and we have a month before we need it. And for most people, a month to get 75 is not a very big deal. So what I'm waiting for is... I want to play WoW, but I don't really want to play Legion right now because I've done nearly everything I want to do. I can play alts, of course, which is what most people are doing, but logging in, farming AP, doing, you know, world quests and logging out ain't my idea of that much fun. And that's a perfect opportunity to play some Classic or something like that. And I was definitely thinking I'd like to go back to my Warrior because this is when it took a lot of skill. I find it hard to invest, certainly in the Warrior right now. I find it very hard to invest, like, thought into this. I find it very hard to invest thought into this at all. Especially when it comes to trash. Even with Skittish, like we have now, it's like, what class is best for healing raids and mythics? You know. So I was thinking definitely Warrior. This is my opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Plus I have the leeway of having some sort of following, so I can be a Warrior. I would probably be a tank. Like, Fury is great. It's also weird to see so many people thinking that Warriors are always tanks. No, you wanted DPS Warriors and tank Warriors. You just wanted Warriors. Warriors and Rogues. Mages too. Couple of Warlocks. I probably would go Warrior tank again. Probably to redeem myself of the story I told when I first ever tried to tank something, which was in Strathome. This is a bad idea. Are these going to bolster? Oh, was I a rookie? No, it was fine. It was in Strathome. And I made a balls of it because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I remember giving up on wearing a shield and going to my two-hander because I seemed to be holding aggro better by just doing that. You know, things like that. And that's what inspired me to learn what the hell I was doing, so I never got caught into that situation again. I mean, you either have two mindsets there, like... You either use the opportunity to go, okay, I got this. Or... you run and hide like a little girl, right? So, it inspired me to get going with my tank and do something with it. Which was great, it worked out really well. And to go back and have that moment again and tank it properly. Although I probably have tanked it properly a few times. But still. It's something that's been playing on my mind. I think more relevant though, what class would I not play in Classic? Should I recommend it to a new player? I want to play a warrior for the reasons I've just specified, but what classes would I encourage or maybe dissuade you from trying? I would stay away from a priest unless you really like healing, because it doesn't do anything else. Shadow is terrible. It runs out of mana so quickly. You end up doing things like not dotting because you can't afford the mana. If a fight goes on long enough, you know, you won't dot because Mind Blast costs too much mana. You're going to be healing, and you can use a mix of specs. Like I raided with Power Infusion, but I was the only Power Infusion priest. In fact, depending on the tank, Power Infusion could be an extremely dangerous spell because the tanks can't handle it. I know that sounds stupid, but it's true. Especially if you give it to the good DPSs. So unless you're really into that, I just wouldn't bother. Why am I mounted here? God, I haven't done this in ages. Let's run the list. I wouldn't be a Warlock. You were basically a debuff bitch, and it wasn't until you got like major plus shadow damage gear, so you better get used to that idea. You don't... you get gear by looking for items that are plus damage. Specifically, plus shadow damage for Warlocks was really, really good. I think we're good on trash. Let's get one more. I can't remember. Rather not come back down though. So I wouldn't recommend Priest. Shaman's really fun, especially if you like being a support role, like a true support role. Like having a... because you'll be a Resto Shaman, more than likely. In Nax gear, Enhancement Shamans can do some cool stuff. Especially if your debuff slots can allow it. I might be saying stuff that's like totally Chinese to a lot of you guys. Bosses had a limited number of debuffs they could take, so Enhancement Shaman took Frost Shock, I think, was one of them. And if you couldn't afford that one slot, you just were basically auto-attacking. But Enhancement did rather well during Nax, if you got proper Nax gear. And that was leather, I believe they were wearing, not mail. I could be wrong on that, though. But if you like healing, and you like being a big support, being a Resto Shaman is awesome in vanilla. And the reason for that is you get to do all the big support stuff, like be in the melee group. Most of your job's going to be mana-tiding the priests. Sorry, this is Horde I'm talking about, obviously. Because you can't be a shaman on the Alliance side. But you get to get improved totems, things like that make Wind Fury more powerful. Improved Mana Spring, so you get some more mana back from that. Really cool as well. That's a really nice style of playing. So, but expect your raid leader. If you're like taking raiding even remotely seriously, expect your raid leaders to just be swapping you into the healing group or the priest group. Traditionally what you try and get is 4 priests and then 1 slot extra, and you would swap the Resto Shaman in every time his mana type was off cooldown to mana tide the priests. Maybe a druid in there or something like that, although the druids would be innovating the priests more than likely. How to spot a bad druid. This is going to trigger some people. Bad druid innovating himself. No. Innovate the priest, you fuck. You do you, we'll do us, alright? One sec, dude. There we go. Innovate the priest, you fuckers. This is one of the joys of being a priest. So if you want to be the hero, be a priest. I'm just saying, prepared to not do anything else with your priest, have a really tough time outside of raids without having an ult, and also be really fucking bored, because priest healing is fuck boring. In vanilla especially, it's fuck boring. A lot of people who love that, I think, get away with it, especially because it is super simple, and a lot of people like a simple style of play. It's super simple, and also it's very much desired. You want like 7 priests if you can get it. 6 is the ideal, 7 is good in case one of them are away. Less than 5 is bad, and you want to get more priests. So if you want to look for a raid guild in vanilla, I suggest you make a priest. You're going to be in good shape there. What else? Hunters. I would never recommend anyone roll a vanilla hunter. The playstyle was really boring. It was auto shot, multi shot, and then drink after a few attacks, and you had to line your attacks. There's arcane multi shot and then drink, and also I believe later on people learnt about. My mind is wandering here. I forgot I'm tanking. I believe later, it might have been TBC, but I think in vanilla you could line up your aimed shot to go in between your auto shots, which was BIS. That was crazy damage if you could do it. But generally speaking, most people got away with arcane shot, multi-shot, drink. So if you don't know what I mean, you could drink in the fight, and you had to because hunters use mana, and you would feign death and then spam your drink so you could drink all your mana back and then carry on DPSing. Don't recommend anybody doing that. And plus, if you ever get to Blackwing Lair, Nefarian breaks your fucking bow and it's really annoying. The hunter class calls. All the hunters are like, I didn't bring my spare bow. Thinking. Let's turn this way. Oh, there's Ragnarok. Wait till 1 tick. So I wouldn't recommend hunter. Rogue is pretty awesome. Rogue is great because you can't really go wrong. Oh, Savage Blade. Hard to go wrong with a rogue. You'll be happy days. What else? Paladin. A lot of people saying I'm looking forward to playing a Holy Paladin. A few tweets about that. I think that's a solid choice. However, again, the healing style is very boring. You're going to be pressing Flash of Light over and over again. Which ain't that fun, unfortunately. Ain't that fun. Oh, healer's dead again? God damn. I'm trying to not think about what I'm doing at all here. You're not making it easy. Shield all this. Where's the shield, actually? I need to pick that up there. Where is it? Somebody else got it? Am I crazy? Where's the fucking shield? Oh, you picked it up. Yeah. Sorry, my mind totally went there. I was like, where's the shield? There's supposed to be a shield somewhere. So I wouldn't recommend a hunter. Although you can do some cool stuff. I mean, hunters are required. Trank shot is always nice if you can get the book of trank shot. So people enjoyed that, having that responsibility of trank shotting, although you stand out a mile. Hunters in vanilla never got noticed until they forgot to do trank shot. And then you got shit on. Like, shit on. Because we could all see the enraged debuff on was it Gar? I want to say Gar. The doggy. And, hey Andy! What was the dog called in MC? Was it Gar?
No, Gar was the wrong one.
Gar's Rock Boy. What's the dog called? I feel like it sounds like Major Domo, but not. It's gonna do my head in that. What's that dog called? I could describe everything about that room. I can't remember his goddamn name. Magma Da. I wasn't even close. I was with the Major Domo. I knew it was a longer name actually, but yeah, Magma Da. I would never have got that. I would never have got that. Like, when you see Magma Da go large and the hunter in rotation hasn't pressed his, you stand out an absolute mile when you've not done that. So yeah, you gotta be watchful. Like, you can get away with a lot as a hunter of not doing anything, but then suddenly it's a real problem, and people are gonna notice. People are gonna notice, especially your tank and your healers are gonna be like, where the hell did that come from? Best gameplay I've ever done this, actually. Best gameplay video of all time. What else could you be? Why am I getting stunned here? What the hell? It doesn't shatter a spear at that point, right? Am I crazy? I don't know. I'll have to check the bot. I don't know what's hitting me. I can see these orbs, obviously. Raw. So, I couldn't recommend a hunter. Rogue is easy game, easy life. Priest, easy game, easy life. Resto, druid. You'll get away with feral sometimes, depending on your guild's progress. What else? Warlock. Talked about Warlock. Warriors are just beast monsters. Very cool. I'm sure I'm missing a class somewhere. Huh. There's probably one right in front of me. Right? No. Oh, Mage. Yeah, Mage is fine. You're going to be playing Frost and Blizzarding a lot. Things like that. Which is all good. 9. Of course. Of course. Of course. Is it pretty much exactly the same as what I have? Funny. That is funny. Nope, I don't need. Trade, bruv. Oh, sick. What's it called? Was it MS? Lauren. Don't open trade with me. There we go. Enjoy. See yous. Very cool. I'm gonna have to check my character select screen. I totally did it around the issue then, but I'm gonna need multiple videos to talk about all this, aren't I? There's no getting away from it. I'm gonna need multiple videos to talk about all this thing. But classes, these are the classes that I would generally think about in vanilla terms, and you guys can argue it till the end of the days. But this is where I think I would stand on it. So let me get out here. Let me log here. I'm definitely remembering some class. DK, I would definitely not roll a vanilla DK. It's going to be bad. Same with the Demon Hunter. Don't do that. Druid we talked about. Hunter we talked about. Monk, don't roll a classic Monk. They were just badly optimized. Really bad. Mage, Priest, Rogue, Sharon. Oh, no, I did talk about them all. Yeah, cool. There's just so few compared to what I'm used to talking about, actually. But that would be my breakdown. I think I'm going to go with this. And you know what? I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to change realm to do this. Let's go back over to Alec here. This is my vanilla server, actually. This is my classic server. Gregor, why did we do this? Ghosty's wife? I can't remember what the hell we were doing here. Filming something. Create new character. I think this is going to have to be the man. Yeah. I think this is going to have to be my boy. This is going to have to be my boy for classic. Something like that. His Sunder Machine is what he's going to be called. The Sunder Bro. But there you go. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll do a few more videos talking about this stuff. I've got loads to talk about with Classic, and TDP seems like the perfect opportunity. So we'll do it there. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.